From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to For the People Weekend. I hope your week has been exciting, productive, healthy, uneventful. Are we talking news? You know, you kind of understand from time to time just why it is that certain people just turn off the news and don't want to hear it anymore when you just get weird news stories that just pop up in your email, and I get news services up the yin-yang, if you will. Can you say that on the radio? You can say that, right? Up the yin-yang. Well, anyway, I like to still say it. You've heard this saying before, right? It doesn't bother you. And beside the fact, it actually sounds funny. There was a gentleman, an orderly, apparently in Memphis. A very bizarre story. Wasn't looking for any of those bizarre news stories. Don't like to report on those stories. But this one, just for whatever reason, was stuck in my head. Got up at 5 in the morning. And that's when I exercise. And I came across a story. The orderly was working in the hospital. It's what they do. At the hospital, cleaning and moving things around. And he was moving a dead body. A young school teacher, 35, died of a heart attack. And he was caught in the closet doing something to the corpse sexually. Okay, having sex with the corpse. And I thought, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm like, how do people do these things? How do people do these things? And the sister of the young man who decided to help himself to the dead corpse, my brother is basically a good person, but to do something like this, there must be something really wrong with him. That was her explanation for the whole thing. And I'm thinking, yeah, really wrong. I mean, you hear of somebody doing a Cosby on somebody where they, knock him out, but dead body? I don't know. Stories like that, I can just seriously do without. And then the sad story that has just been captivating the nation, like it or not, is the young girl, unfortunately, that was found dead. You know who I'm talking about. Molly Tibbetts. And now the reports are coming out on how she died. And if you haven't heard the preliminaries, there was an autopsy that was performed on her. And they say Molly Tibbetts died as a result of sharp force injuries, the state medical examiner office revealed. And this past Thursday, confirming that the body found in a cornfield earlier this week was the missing college student. The preliminary autopsy was conducted on Wednesday. The medical examiner's office said that further examination of her body may result in additional findings. So there was a vigil honoring Molly Tibbetts, murdered. She was an Iowa student, and it drew hundreds of people out. Tibbetts' body was found by investigators on Tuesday in the Deep River area, Poshek County, covered in corn silks. And yes, it was, you guessed right, you've heard it already, an illegal immigrant camping out, stalking her, and killed her. These two stories just saddened me beyond belief. This is the world, folks, that you and I live in. And then there's the Hurricane Lane. And if you know anybody in Hawaii, I said a prayer for these folks and continue to pray because I think we're going to dodge a bullet this year in Florida for hurricanes. Hurricane Lane is going to make its closest approach to Hawaii tonight and into Saturday. Potential flood disaster, according to experts, from up to 40 inches of rain. 40 inches, folks. Meteorologist Dominica Davis says, looking at the latest forecast for Hurricane Lane, and at a glance here, we're looking at it. Hurricane Lane making the closest approach to Maui and Oahu tonight into early Saturday. And if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry. Parts of the Big Island have already picked up already, folks, as it's approaching 30 inches of rain as the bands are coming in. Additional heavy rain could trigger disastrous flooding, landslides in parts of the island. And whether Lane's strongest winds affect parts of the island through Saturday remains uncertain. But regardless, dangerous flash flooding, mudslides, battering waves, and coastal flooding, all these things that are associated with hurricanes. Hurricane Lane is within 24 hours, as we speak, of making its closest approach to Hawaii. Will still unleash torrential rain that may produce disastrous rainfall and flooding and landslides, and very dangerous situation right now for Hawaii. So we're praying for Hawaii. We're praying for the people there that are hunkered down. There are storm shelters and places that people can go, and people are hunkering down right now, but it's very uncertain as to how much damage, and we're just praying that nobody gets hurt. But, trees topple over, all sorts of power lines, winds. We get winds that are over 100 miles an hour. I mean, crazy things obviously happen. We do have a guest for the broadcast at the bottom of the hour. And last week, if you joined us on For the People, we were talking about the terrible sexual misconduct of Catholic priests who have abused 1,000, and it's probably a whole lot more according to experts. But we're going to talk to a victim who has written a book called More Than Surviving, Courageous Meditations for Men Hurting from Child Abuse. We're going to be talking to a very interesting gentleman. His name is Cecil Murphey, and that'll be at the bottom of the hour. First, I want to talk to you about this broadcast. As many of you know, this has been a legacy broadcast. It's been a broadcast that people have been depending on for many years for the truth, for honesty, for a program with clarity and common sense. And something that really is lacking across this country is that somebody that is trustworthy to get onto the airwaves, and somebody that you can believe in, and somebody that's not a hack. There's people that can be bought out, and they'll leave things out, and they're just, an independent is the way to go. I'm just, convinced that you got to have your own independence. Sometimes when you sign contracts, you're signing away your editorial ability to be able to navigate through the broadcast on so many different issues. And to me, that's a hard thing to do, given the fact that, I've been doing this independent thing now for over 3 years, and Chuck did it pretty much his whole life and paid a price for it, and when you get people that are trying to upset the apple cart, politically take you out, I mean, there's risks involved with anything. But listen, to be able to get onto the airwaves, proclaim the truth, speak truth to power, and, break stories, give people clarity on what's going on, because sometimes it's very difficult to be able to connect the dots. And that's something that many people tell me I do quite well. And summarize some of the most important stories that are going on in our country, and try to bring a human element, not a digitized version, but a humanized heart and soul, somebody that has some moral decency to them. Geez, it's hard to find. We just have a very, and people are out there. If you are of that like-mindedness and you have a moral compass in your life, or you're trying to find one, and you found a broadcast that can at least bring you back to Jesus, so to speak, then you found a good thing here at For the People. I am looking for partners. We are trying to take this show to more places, and we have a shortwave station that has given us a very generous offer, but we need to put some money in the coffers so we can go ahead and save for this, because I want to have enough money to be able to at least do a maybe 6-month run to see how things go. But it'll go around the world, and Chuck used to do this on WHRI and some other shortwave stations, and we'd like to do that. And I really feel in a big way this is honoring Chuck, and we need to do something big and to bring this broadcast back. And with that said, we would do a follow-up to the trade magazines, letting people know that it's launching around the world on shortwave, but it's $60 an hour. All right, $60 an hour, and that ain't bad. There's stations that are $250, $300, some are $800. 60 is not bad, and so I want to be able to do at least a 6-month run. And so we'd like to raise at least maybe $8,000 to $10,000 if we could. And that way we could do the trade magazines, and we could pay the station in advance so they have their money. We could run promos, advertising it. But a lot of folks have shortwave radios. And if you don't have one, you can simply just order one online. They're relatively cheap. And you can go to Amazon, and I might find a couple radios that I like and that I'll try out for you. But shortwave is really special. And you can buy the antenna kits with the coax and run it out your window. Really neat ability. And in Europe, they have them in their car. People just drive them, just like the AM and FM radios they have over here. But you can listen to it pretty much anywhere on the planet. And that would be really cool. Yeah, we're on the web. And yes, we're on some AM and FM radio stations across the country. Very grateful for that. But this would be rather big to reach a potential audience of millions of people. And we really need to make a comeback. That's really what we need to do. When Chuck started having health problems, he just could not put a lot into the show. And thankfully, I have my health. And I have, the ability to do the show and put together an excellent broadcast. But I could certainly use your help to ramp this up. And the idea is that, you're on more places. It's easier to get support because it's a numbers game. And right now, we need to bolster those numbers. And so what I'm asking you to do is, if you haven't been into your piggy bank in a while, maybe break it open and let me have your loose change. And you can make a donation simply right on our front page right now at forthepeopleshow.com. That's just forthepeopleshow.com. But if this show has meant something to you through the years, and you love Chuck, and you love what Chuck started, and you want this legacy to continue, I think it would be very befitting to be able to take this show and go shortwave. And I'll keep you updated as to the progress for the shortwave fund and how that's going. But I'd like to get this done sooner rather than later. So if there's someone out there that, might be able to write a check bigger than, $5-10, that would be great. Maybe, you can do an extra $1,000. Maybe you can bankroll the whole thing and you want your business ran on it, or you just want to make a donation, whatever the amount is. And don't feel bad. I got some folks, and I'm grateful for it. They just give $1 a month. That's $12 a year, but it adds up. If you get enough people that are doing that, but, we need more folks like that. Some folks give $25 a month, and I'm grateful for that. Some 10, some 5, and some just periodically, here's $10, here's $12. But the bigger donations, it adds up faster. But if everybody just does their part and does something, we want to make a difference. And that's really why I do the radio show. There's no other reason why I would continue doing For the People. I believe in the mission of For the People. And the mission is, and this is abbreviated, I don't have it set in stone, but our idea of the broadcast is to educate people, inform people, and also unite people in all cultures, all walks of life. And we're patriotic. We love this country, God and country. We cannot become more patriotic than we already are. We love veterans. We love this country, but